sergeant, firemen, paramedics, and police in yellow rain slickers with reflective tape that glared like white fire. Flares hissed on wet pavement as a heavy, cold rain fell, and voices were excited and loud and made no sense. It seemed people were yelling at him, and it frightened Moses and made him feel small and ashamed. He tried to open his eyes, but it was as if they had been sewn shut. "What happened to the angel?" he kept muttering. "She said her car broke down." Unique's car was fine, and she drove around downtown for a couple of hours, listening to radio news breaks about the mugging and hijacking at the farmers' market, and the speculation that it had been committed by the same gang of highway pirates that had been terrorizing Virginia for months. But this time, Unique enjoyed the afterglow a little less than usual. She could have sworn that old black truck driver was dead, and she was irritated that her accomplices had been in such a hurry to run off that they had robbed her of a complete release. Had it been up to her, she would have finished what she started and made sure the truck driver never talked again. But she wasn't worried about cops paying her any mind as she cruised around in her white Miata at this strange hour. Part of being unique was not looking like what she was. Part of being unique was not looking at all like what she did. She was so certain of her invincibility that she pulled off at Fred's Mini-Mart, where a police car was parked. Unique could spot an unmarked car from a block away, and she slipped inside the store as she eyed the handsome young blonde man who was paying for a quart of milk at the counter. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, and she searched for any sign of a gun and detected a bulge at the small of his back. "Thanks, Fred," the blonde plainclothes cop said to the man at the cash register. "You bet, Andy. I've missed seeing you. This whole last year. It's like you dropped off the damn planet." "Well, I'm back," Andy said, pocketing his change. "You be careful. There's a really bad gang out there. We just had another truck driver hit." "Yeah, no shit. Heard it on the radio. How bad did they mess him up? I guess you worked the scene." "Nope, off duty. I heard about it the same way you did," Andy replied, with a trace of disappointment. "Well, I agree with what the newspaper's saying about it being a hate crime thing," Fred said. "From what I hear, the leader's a white dude and all the victims so far are black, except for that female trucker a couple months back. But then I think she was a minority too, if you know what I'm saying. Not that I'm a big fan of dykes, but that was pretty horrible. Seems like I read somewhere she had a stick shoved up her and was cut." "Oh!" Fred exclaimed, startled, as Unique appeared out of nowhere and set a six-pack of Michelob on the counter. "You slipped in so quiet, sugar. I didn't know there was nobody else in the store." Unique smiled sweetly. "I'd like a pack of Marlboros, please," she said in a small, soft voice. She was very pretty and dressed neatly, all in black, but her boots were scuffed, and they sure were dirty, and she looked as if she had been caught in the rain. Andy noticed a white Miata in the parking lot when he got back in his unmarked Caprice, and he had scarcely driven off when the delicately lovely girl with the strange eyes climbed into the Miata. She followed him through downtown, all the way to the Fan District, and just as he slowed down to see if he could make out her license plate, she turned off on Strawberry Street. Andy had an odd feeling that he couldn't place, and as he returned to his small row house and fixed a bowl of cereal, he had the eerie sensation that he was being watched. Unique knew how to stalk anybody, including a cop, and she stood across the street in the deep shadows of trees and watched Andy's shadow move from room to room, eating something out of a bowl. Several times he parted the curtains and looked out at the vacant, still street. She cast her gaze in his direction and imagined the power she was having over his mind. He was feeling uneasy and sensed something, she believed, because Unique had been around for a very long time.